Okay, so going with the mahalach that we're trying to do is say what the daf is about before we actually learn it. So it's like a preview, right? So the Mishnah talks about it, the isha that makes a neder, and then she was mafresh behema, and then the husband was mefer. So now, what do you do with all these animals? That's basically going to be the gist for the next 3-4 blot is going to be kachim. It's basically we're turning into kachim tonight, not so much, but in future days, it's we're basically learning kachim because what's the story? She was mafresh korbanos. Now she's not a nazir anymore. So what do you do with the korbanos, right? And yeah,
I wanted to say that if she did it early in the game, let's say the first day she was in a zero, she did it.
right.
But and then he's mefer. So the same way we say that if you didn't bench Svira Thursday night and you made early Shabbos, so we say you can go back or whatever. She would never be magdish these 3 animals if she knew her husband was going to be mefer. If he did it, if we went all the way to the 30 days, fine. But right at the beginning, so she would never become a nazir. She would never magdish these behemoths if she knew her husband was being mefer.
So what are you saying? So it's a like a neder betois?
Whatever it's called by Sphero or by those other things that you could switch out of if you had different knowledge of it. We had a few examples already.
No, so I don't know. See, I don't know if that's called betois. Is that called betois? She did when she made it. She was a legitimate nazir. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay, fine.
I'm not clear. But anyway, so that's what the Mishnah starts with, and then the Mishnah talks about what happens if they just separated the money and there wasn't anything specific, and then the rest of Amud Aleph after the Gemara is talking about is the husband is a Machlokes if the husband's taka responsible for his wife's korbanos. Maybe he could tell his wife, you got your mishigasin, you pay for your own mishigasin, right? Or does the husband really have to pay? Right? Then the Gemara says about how is it possible that a woman could have her own korbanos? Everything she buys goes to the husband, and then the Gemara gets into that the four different situations where someone could be makriv a korban olah or a olah shelamim for nazir and not have to bring the breads that are normally supposed to go with it. Okay, so we'll see. Now we'll see let's see the Mishnah. Yes, it's the Mishnah. Shenadra ben Nazir. So a woman, this case we had already. So a woman who made a neder ben Nazir v'frisha behemta. She separated her behemoths to bring after she was a Nazir. Right? See, that's why is this case by an Isha? I'm sorry for doing litzonis, but why is this case by an Isha? Why can't it be an Ish who then has Nazirus matir? Why doesn't it say that case? Why doesn't it say a case of a man decided he doesn't want to be a Nazir and then he had the Chacham matir, but after
because that's his free will, that's his decision. The lady, it's not her decision. That's why it's telling you that.
Yeah, but it's still her. But it's still the korbanos.
But it's not her decision.
Right, but still the korbanos would separate even if he did it. Right? I have a different teretz. No man is being mafresh his korbanos before the Nazirus is over.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
So only a lady, the day she becomes a Nazir, says, I got to start separating the korbanos 30 days from now. I got to get working on it. So that's why it's that case. For a guy, no, Gershon, you mask him to that? Or?
Mask him. I think that's why they have Rosh Chodesh as a Yom Tov. They need a whole month to prepare for the next Rosh Chodesh.
Very good.
It's like cleaning for Pesach.
And right, exactly. Yeah, but anyway, so okay, so now it's again. So woman was mafresh korbanos, and then her husband was mefer it. If the behemoth was his, so meaning if he owned the behemoths that she separated, so then teitzev atira beider. So then it's like Rabban, exactly what you're saying. If he owns the behemoths, then they just go out and tira and they go back out to graze in the regular corral, right? Because why? What's a pshat? Because it's not her animal; it's her husband's animal. He, out of the goodness of his heart, will let her use his animals. But right now, it's not hers, right? I mean, it's not going to be hers later. But bottom line is he's letting her use it when it's negeya, but it's not negeya. We'll see more of that in the Gemara.
But wait, so it was never a hafrasha. The hafrasha did not exist if it's his animal.
Well, she did. She said that she's going to use these animals. I think that's what happened.
But she can't do that without rishos, and if she had rishos, he would have known about it, and he can't be made for it. The hafrasha and the hafara should be stira to each other.
What do you mean? It's well,
Unless that's what the Mishnah means. It states a material be'eder because there was no hafrasha.
what? It's not her. He's letting her use her animals, right?
What does that mean? For what?
Only if she actually needs them. That's what the
I
Gemara
mean,
is.
there's a general allowance that he gives. If you need to bring a carbon, you can take one of mine.
Correct, but only if you need to
So
bring it.
it's,
That's the way the Gemara say it. Yeah. So, anyways, okay. So let's see. So again, if he owns the animals, she was just going to use them. Then then it just goes back to graze and finished. V'im shalah isa behema. But if the behemoths were hers, which the Gemara is going to say how they were hers, if anything that a woman gets goes to her husband, right? So chatas. Then again, before we go weiter, there's 3 animals that get brought by a nazir. Right? There's a trifecta. There's a chatas, and there's an olah, and there's a shelamim. Right? Now the chatas, the reason why chatas is stricter is chatas cannot be brought as a nedava. An olah can be brought in a nedava, and a shelamim can be brought as a nedava. So if it's brought in as a nedava, so she has these animals. Okay, so they were supposed to go as a chiyuv, but now she no longer has a chiyuv, but they're hektish. Okay, so bring it as a nedava. Fine. You cannot bring a chatas as a nedava, because a chatas can't be brought as a chatas. Only comes for somebody who did something wrong. Right, so that's why the chatas is always more strict. So that's what the Gemara says. The Mishnah says chatas tamos. The chatas dies. Right, meaning you don't feed it. You don't feed it. You don't let it graze. It just you let it die. For olah tikrav, and the olah you tikrav olah. The olah you bring as a olah, and shelamim tikarav shelamim, and the shelamim you bring as a shelamim. And you eat the shelamim for one day. Normal shelamim. Eat for 2 days and 1 night. Here you eat it for 1 day. And they don't need bread. Normally, a korban shelamim from the Nazir has 20 loaves of bread, 10 rakikin and 10 regular, which we'll see on Amud Beis. So those breads don't get brought. Yeah. Because, and there's a special din. There's a special din for that. Yeah. So that's the first case. So we're gonna have this a lot. So again, the chatas is the most strict. That's why you have to let it die. And the oil and the shlam can be brought as nedavas. The seifa hayulama is stumin. But let's say she made stam money, meaning not made. She separated. The first case is talking about where she separated actual animals. She said this one's a chatas, this one's an oila, this one's a shlamim. Right? This case, she didn't separate animals. She separated money, but she didn't say. She said, "Here's $100." And I'm going to use this $100 for my korbanos. But she didn't say like 30 for chatas, 30 for shelamim, 33 for shelamim, and 33 for olah. She didn't say that. She just separated the money. So then what do? Yiplul nedava. That money all goes for the nedava, right? Which is basically when the Beis Hamikdash, when the mizbeach is sitting idle, then you put the that's when they burn the korbanos on there. Yeah. Mois mufurashin. But let's say she said beferish, right? She said, I'm separating $30 for the oila, $30 for the chatas, $30 for the shlamim. So then to make chatas yelkul yamamelach. The money for the chatas has to go to yamamelach, where it's going to get destroyed because you can't use it, right? Because it's a chatas. The chatas can't be in a dava. loy nanin v'loy miylah. You're not allowed to be nana from it, but if you used it, you're not biyar on miylah. Miylah is if you by mistake use a korban. So if you by mistake use a korban, you use your korban for your own use. So then you're over on miylah. But something that's not going to be brought as a korban does not have miylah. So since this money is going into the melach, therefore there's no miylah on it. But you're still not allowed to benefit from it. The
What happens if
miylah,
she,
What after
what
korbanos?
happens if she owed a chatas for a different chatas at the same time? She could use that for the other chatas?
I don't know. Could you use it for another chatas?
I don't think this one. I
Doesn't
don't
the
think this
chatas
one.
have
This
to
is a
be
chatas
lishma?
oif, no.
Has to be lishma, all the chatas.
So who
Yeah,
said it's not lishma?
Specific. No, I'm saying, but you can't. If she intended it to be for the Naziris, maybe she can't use it for something from some other sin.
I don't know.
I think this is the only chatas oif that there is, isn't there?
Also, it's yeah. In a chatas ha'if, there's no other
What if
chatas.
she had a baby? Gershon, she had a baby also.
The
So that's a
baby.
chatas oif.
But then it goes up and down, no? Doesn't it depend on income?
So let's say she's poor.
Well, she owes a chatas oif for having a baby.
I hear. I don't know why I would think that you can't, but I don't know. I don't know for sure. Know enough kachim.
I think that's
It's also
my
not a bad
thought
time
was
to be
that
makabel
it-
naziris.
Right.
No
it's
alcohol,
designated
growing your
for
hair
a
at the end of
certain
the
sin.
What are you saying, Reb Dov?
I'm thinking that it's designated for a certain avera, for a certain sin, the chatas. You
Right.
can't switch it around. Oh, I happen to have on credit. I have a few averas on credit. Let me clean those up.
Right.
Why the guy do it all the time?
Okay.
I had a coworker. He told me he's not going to church this week because he's going to have fun the weekend. He's going to go to next week.
Okay. It'll stay longer.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know. I agree with you, but I don't know if that's. I don't know what the. I don't know.
I don't know either, but that would be. I mean, that's my. I don't know. All right.
So May olah. What about the money for the olah? You view
I
olah.
just, Tzviakov.
Yeah.
I just demei oila, demei chatas doesn't it, is how did the money get kachem mizbeach status? Why isn't it kachem by the kabayis? Even if it's been mufresh specifically, why can't you give the demei chatas an upgrade to demei oila now? Switch it to an oila and then buy an oila with it. Why is it throw it tizrikli amamela?
Again, what are you saying?
I understand the ratio is when the animal itself was designated as a chatas, it can't really upgrade it to an oila. The demei chatas, why can't that? It's kachem by the kabayis ultimately. So what if it's been designated for chatas? It's still kachem by the kabayis. Why can't it be upgraded to an oila? Why is it yiplu yamamela or yochlu yamamela?
What the May olah?
Demei chatas, demei chatas.
The May chatas. It goes to Yom HaMelech, right?
I'm asking why. Why can't you give it an upgrade to an oila?
Why is that an upgrade?
One is a chi.
In some ways, the chatas is more chomer than an oil.
One is a chiyuv. One is an adava, ain't it?
Right, but the chiyuv, there is no chiyuv. So it was designated for chatas. Turn it into kachim kachim. You can't turn it into a shelamim because it's the downgrade. But an oil is an upgrade.
I don't know. I don't know how it works enough to know. Right?
Isn't money always better bias? Technically.
No, because this is not. This is hektish. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's hektish, but it's kachim better bias. It can't be. It
Right.
has a miylah that you can't use it to buy anything else for the base of mikdash. It has to be used for carbon, but it doesn't have the kedusha of kachem mizbeach. It can't be brought. It can't physically be brought on a mizbeach.
I hear. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know enough to catch him. What's yeah, what's no. But anyways, okay. So again, the chatas you got to put the Yom HaMelech. minus Gershon's kasha. Yeah. The may olah, yaviu olah umaylan behen. So the may olah, the money of the olah, you bring it as an olah, and you'll be over on miylah, because since it could go to a carbon, so you're over on miylah. The may shelamim, yaviu shelamim. The money of shelamim, you bring it as a shelamim, and achalan liyayim echad, and but only eat it for one day. Ve'ein tunim lechem, and it doesn't need lechem, like we said before, right? So meaning the shlamim gets brought, but with limits, right? Fine. Okay.
What's the liyom echad business? Isn't it shnei yamim v'layla echad?
Only for yom echad. This shlamim of Nazir is a special din. It only goes for yom. Special din that this only goes for yom echad. Not like you standard.
It's not like the mefirish.
Standard shlam goes for 2 days and one. Right.
The mefirish says that it's in the ratio that v'nachon liyom echad is for some things it has a teres shlamim, some things it doesn't. Yom echad is like a shlamim, but tunin lechem it doesn't. So it's.
I don't know.
According to the mefirish, what does it mean?
I don't know. I don't know what the mefarish means. Taka. Yeah. Okay. So the Gemara says, "Man tana de baal loy mishtabed lo." Who is the tana who learns that the husband doesn't have to buy the korbanos for the wife? Right. Meaning, what do we say that if the korbanos if the animals belong to the husband, so then it doesn't have to go to the wife. Doesn't have to. It just goes right back to graze, right? Why? Maybe why isn't he meshubed to take care of his wife? And once his wife makes the nazirus, then he has to provide her with animals. If he has to provide her with animals and it's hers, then they have to be put out to die if it's a chatas. So again, who is the Tana that says the husband not meshubed? Rav Chisda Rabbanan he. Rabbanan. Rabbi Yehuda he. If it's Rabbi Yehuda, my tate say v'tira be'edra. How can it be? How can you say that his animal goes out to graze? He's meshubed to give the animal to his wife, and miylah, the animal belongs to her. The Tanya. So what's this Machlokes? So the din is there are certain korbanos where it depends on how wealthy you are. That's what type of carbon you bring, right? It could be what do you call it? Which korbanos again? Which carbon goes with the afterbirth? No, right? More. I don't remember which ones, but basically there are korbanos where it depends on how wealthy you are. You could bring birds, you could bring animals, right? So a woman is considered poor because she doesn't have money, or whatever money she has goes to her husband, right? So other maybe carbon ashir al ishta. A person could bring a carbon ashir of the wealthy for his wife. All her korbanos she chayeves, and any carbon that she is chayev, the husband has to give it. Shekach kosavla. This is what he writes in the ksuba. Kol achrayis to islech alai min kadmas dara. Any achrayis that you have is on me from before our marriage. Any achrayis is on me. Right, so miylah and kol shekain after the marriage. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, the husband has to take care of his wife and bring the korbanos. So our Mishna l'chayra can't be Rabbi Yehuda, right? But kids, the similar thing. Kids ask, does a bar mitzvah boy have to give meiser on his bar mitzvah money that he makes, or bachrim that they make some money? You tell him, like, by the way, you're poor. I hate to break it to you, but you're poor. You have no money. Right? If your parents say you can't live in the house anymore, so where are you going? Right? You got no money. So you're putter. Right? So the wife is also considered as she doesn't have money.
But the parents didn't say that. So they have a place, they have everything. They're still considered poor?
Because they're schnorrers from the parents.
Okay. So they're still considered poor.
The wife is a schnorrer from the husband. Now she has to give things. She has to give things back in exchange. But yeah, right. So anyways,
Isn't
okay.
this a Shaila come Purim? I mean, it's almost Purim. Matanas Levyanim. You give an Evian Matanas Levyanim. Can he take from the next guy also? Because he's still called an Evian.
What do you mean? An Evian himself you're talking about? Or whether a wife? Yeah. I thought you wanted to say whether a husband could give his wife Matanas of Yoinim.
That too. Yeah.
According to this, it sounds like you
or his kid.
or his kid. Yeah. Really? You not to your wife. Your wife to a kid, you probably could a yeshiva bacher. Anyways, so that's Rabbi Yehuda Shita. Rabbi Amar, meaning so
Reb Zev, you have a new opportunity here.
why? It's going to cost yeshiva more money to give to the bacher.
No, let the Bacham get Matanas Yavanim. Give it to Yeshiva.
Oh, but then it's not. But that's I don't know. If,
Why don't you make the Bacham go work in a coal mine and give it to yeshiva?
you do that too. Then you're not going to have much of a yeshiva.
And Beinas Manim, or Beinas Durham, they could work local.
I don't understand. Akiva's not even on. It was still knocking Zev.
Every opportunity.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, it's good. So anyway, so we're saying that our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Yehuda, because Rabbi Yehuda holds a husband has to buy his wife's korbanos. Rava Amar afilu tema Rabbi Yehuda. No, you could say our Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda. Ki mishabed la b'milsa detzricha la b'milsa deloy tzricha la loy. Meaning, yes, Rabbi Yehuda holds she needs to give the carbon, right? But he needs to give her the carbon, but that's only if she actually needs it. Meaning, when it comes time to bring the carbon to the Beis Hamikdash, he tells his wife, you know what? When right, she's telling him, I need a carbon. He says, just wait until we get there, right? And so when they get there, then he has to give it. Stam, he doesn't have to give it, so it's not considered hers. Yeah, he could the Amri. Man Tana, who's the Tana? Meaning, who's the Tana of our Mishnah? Now we're going to say the opposite. Amr Rav Chisda Rabbi Yehudi. The Tana of our Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda. And when is he meshubet to her? And something that they need. Something that's not shriach, you don't need. The Rabbanon, because if it's a Rabbanon, according to Rabbanon, the husband, we hold the husband doesn't have to give at all. Right? So how did she even make the korbanos hektish? Right? Ella, hechidami de meshabela. So then what would be the case that he should be chayav to give her an animal? Going to aknila. It's talking about where he was makde it to her. Meaning he told her, all my animals are yours. Do whatever you want with it. The kiman da aknila have the nafsha. And since it's hers, so then they're her animals. Right? So meaning there's no way, and then all the animals in the Mishnah are hers. So since the Mishnah differentiates between his animals and her animals, so it must be the Mishnah is not like the Rabbanon. Right? So two versions basically saying the same thing, that our Mishnah, one says that the Mishnah could go like the opinion that says, one Mishnah says very simply, it doesn't go with the opinion that says that the husband is required to buy his wife korbanos. And the other one says, no, it could go with that opinion, but he's only required to buy her korbanos if she actually needs them. Right? But she does not. If she's not going to end up needing them, then he doesn't have to give her the korbanos. So when he nullifies her nazirus, so the korbanos go away. Rava Amar, and Rava says, afilu tema rabbanon. You could even say rabbanon. Ki makni le'nami b'milsa d'srichala. We're going to say that when is the husband makna the wife korbanos? That's when she needs it. But when he doesn't need it, meaning when she doesn't need it, then he's not makna to her. So okay, so basically the two different versions of what our Gemara says of whether the husband is mechuyev to give to the wife or not. Fine. Right? So
Wait,
yeah.
According to the Rabbanon, there's no shibud. How is the woman ever supposed to get her korbanos? Everything she gets will belong to the husband. The husband has no shibud. How does she ever bring a carbon?
She knits extra wool. She could keep that. We had that in the Durham.
But it's only if the husband gives it away. The oidif.
Well, I understand what you.
If a woman's chayav a carbon, according to the Rabbanon, where is that carbon coming from?
What do you mean? Where's it coming from? She's a Nazir, Nazir, whatever.
No, in a regular carbon, forget Nazir, any carbon. She's chayav a chatas. She did
Yeah.
some of Avery. She's chayav a chatas.
Right.
So the husband's not meshubed according to the Rabbanon, according to this, according to her sister. So as soon as she buys an animal, it belongs to the husband. And he's weiter not meshubed to her. How is she ever going to buy a carbon? Buy an animal to become a carbon?
What, the same way she's doing it here.
We're saying it's Rabbi Yehuda. According to the Rabbanon, I'm asking.
You mean Stamazoi?
No, Rav is saying that the husband gave her rishus. But in general, according to the Rabbanon, if there's no arrangement, it's not in the ksuba, there's no arrangement, she would have to, what does she have to do?
What do you mean? He's according to that version of the Rabbanon. When it comes time, I don't know which version of the Rabbanon you're going according to, but when it comes time to give the carbon, then he'll give her the carbon.
So so it has to go through the husband. And if he decides not to?
Well, minus the next Gemara, but we'll have to see the next Gemara because there is a way for her to have her own animals.
Okay, if there's but if she doesn't have that,
I don't know. So then
he can decide. If he decides to be this whatever mean husband, he could never allow it to bring a carbon if he decides.
Seems like
What?
Seems like that according to the Rabbanon.
Wow.
I think. Well, we learn ksubas, so it's not like that's behind us. So I don't know. We can't say like, oh, when we get to it, we'll learn it because we already did ksubas. So
She probably won't have to bring that many korbanos for having children. Gershon, so.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, I figured that out before. That's why I said if she has to bring a chatas for something. But chances are, if she has a husband like this, she will have to bring a chatas for something.
Yeah, could be, and she'll probably be Inus, but yeah. But anyway, fine. Weiter. So if it's her behema, chatas tamas v'ayla tikra. So Gemara says, he minola. Where does she have animals from? Ha'amrit mashakansa isha kana baila. Whatever the woman purchases goes straight to the husband. How could she possibly get her own animals? So Papa shemiktasa meisasa. What she does, not shemiktasa, shemikatisa, shekimatisa. I'm sorry, I read it wrong. Shekimatisa. She became cheap with her dough, meaning he has to feed her every day. So what she did is she took a little bit of dough, and she every day, and she put it away until she had enough money. For to buy an animal, right?
Does that money still belong to him if she pulled away?
No, she gets it because he's mechuyev to feed her. So once he feeds her, it
Wait,
becomes.
he's supposed to give her food and clothing. So if he gives her $500 a week for food and clothing, she decides she's only going to spend $400, right? So then then maybe he only mechuyev to give her 400.
Correct. So that's Toisus Kasha. No, he asking Toisus Kasha because Toisus says the Gemara in Ksuba says, which I did not remember, unfortunately. But the Ksuba says
maybe she keeps the other 100. That's he gave her 500. She keeps the other 100. It's a new account.
That's what the Gemara is saying.
This way she has money to buy a carbon.
That's what the Gemara is saying, but
yeah.
But the Toisus asks because the Gemara in Ksuba says the money goes back to the husband. So right there, the Toisus shekim to be meisasa. The Toisus asks, it goes back to the Bible. He said it's talking about what she said, and he swapped her out. You keep your earnings and keep your food, right? And then there was leftover from that, right? And that only keeps she. That's one teretz, but that's the kasha. Yeah.
The thing about Irish, The reason I was shaking my head is the fighter seems to say like the second teretz of Tosfos.
Yeah.
I thought that was pashut.
Okay. Yeah,
La
yeah.
Yivchais is the starting point.
Right.
There's a starting point where the husband cannot give less. So all of
Gershon,
that belongs
it's
to the
called
wife.
Daf Yomi, not Mefarish Yomi.
Well, once on that, Reb Shaya Novak sent me a story from his Rabbi YY. Can I say, Rabbi, a story from Reb YY? He said a fascinating story from Rabbi Lau, that Rabbi Lau was being Megayer, a guy in Eretz Yisrael, and he was trying to figure out if he was not being Megayer, whether he's a Yid. So the guy went to an old man and said, "Do you know if this guy's Yid?" He says, "Yid, I know his mother." His mother's from? He says, not from, but let me tell you about his mother. She was a nurse in a hospital in Russia, and they gave her 2 cigarettes a day because her status. So one she smoked and one she put away. For the entire year, she put it away so that she sold it in the black market to have matzah for Pesach. He said that was this guy's mother. So Rabbi Lau says, does she have a phone? Can I call her? And he said, yeah, he called her. And he said, are you religious? She says, she's not religious. He says, you're not religious. You're more religious than us. It says the mitzvah, it's supposed to mention Yetzias Mitzrayim every day of the year. You're Mekayim it like nobody else, right? Put away 1 cigarette a day, right? So this lady, I guess she was doing something wrong because it was for a chatas, but she put away a cigarette a day from her husband, and now she has enough money to bring a korban, right? Okay, that's teretz number 1. Iba Yisema, ta'akni la achar, somebody else is makne to her. V'amar la, menashe ein lebalach rishus behen. And he says, here, you could have this animal on condition that your husband has no rights on it. Yeah, so that's a way for her to have an animal. Those are the 2 ways. Fine. Then ha'olah tikra of olah, v'ashlam tikra.
Isn't that a tanai against the Dover Shabbat? If everything she gets is supposed to go to him, and you want to make a tanai that it doesn't go to him, isn't that a sizer with Machlokes b'Torah?
I don't know if that's Machlokes b'Torah. I mean, is that considered masna Machlokes b'Torah? I don't know.
Okay, I'll mute myself again.
Good question. Is that called? I'm saying as long as he takes care of her, right? Then if somebody gives her something and says it belongs to you only, so then I don't know. Now, you know what this gets into. I don't want to go down this road. This gets into the whole copyright. Right? You buy a CD, if anybody knows what that is. But you buy a CD, right? And they say to you, but tonight that you don't copy it. Well, who are you to tell me what to do with my CD? Right? But Elamai, they could sell to you with some sort of tonight. Here's also, they're giving me with some sort of tonight. Okay, fine.
I remember your father used to speak about this particular business with the CD and copying music. I don't remember what his. I remember it was Makelon, but I can't remember all the pratim on it. But you mentioned it. I remember him talking about. I think it was when CDs first came out, or DVDs, CDs, whatever they are. So,
I think
maybe
you'll
find it in one of his old drawers.
I don't think he liked the selling that you can't copy. I think he said it ruined the sale. You can copy it and then return it or something and get your money back.
It's a whole thing.
Like that.
You can't copy and then return it. But I think most of the poskim don't like it because a word at best it's a t'nai. If it's a t'nai, then 10 years later when you decide you want to copy it, the guy says, "Oh, it's copyright. You can't copy it." So that's a t'nai. Give me my $16 back. So now it's only worth $2. So what? That was the t'nai. So if it's not a sale, give me my $16 back.
They have the lease, then they start leasing them to people. That was another loophole. You're leasing the CD from the guy, right? Okay, whatever. I'm saying, so you're doing all this type of shticks with the kinyonim. Anyways, okay, fine. Right? So we said that if she before her nazirus was nullified by her husband, she set aside an animal for an olah for a shlamim, so then you bring them because they brought us in a dava. Shmuel told Avua bar Ihi, Loi Teisiv al Karech, don't sit down, right? Really, Karech means your feet. Don't sit on your feet is the literal translation. Right? But the Rosh says that it means don't sit down, right? Until you tell me something. Meaning don't get too comfortable until you tell me what the deal is with this. And it doesn't say does this like Igros Moshe. You know, most chuvas, I think most chuvas, the shaila is printed before, right? Before you hear that you read the shaila from the person who asked the shaila, and then there's the tshuva, right? And Igros Moshe doesn't have that. Igros Moshe, he based on his answer, you have to figure out exactly what the question was. Now, usually he explains the question in the beginning, but he doesn't print the questions. So maybe this is the source for that. Here, the Gemara doesn't say the question. It said, don't sit down until you explain this to us. Okay, what is it? So, the Gemara says, Ve'eluhain arba elim, she'ein tunin lechem. These are the 4 rams, right, an aisle, that don't need bread. Meaning we said, that in the Mishnah we said that when the Nazir, when he nullifies the carbon, so the oil and the shelamim get brought, but you don't bring the bread that goes along with it, and it only gets eaten for 1 day. So he said, until you tell us, obviously he asked him, tell us where the 4 places are, the 4 types of Nazir korbanos where you don't have to bring the bread. So he said to him, Shalai, his, Fishalah, meaning is a case where his own carbon, he won't have to bring the bread part of the korbanos, and hers, which is what we've been talking about, Fishalachar Misa, and if it goes after Misa, Fishalachar Kapara, and if after he already got a Kapara. Those are the 4 cases. So Shalah Hada Amaran, that we've been saying, Shalah was saying, if she separated the korbanos, and then the husband nullified it. So that means the korbanos are extra. You don't bring the bread. Shalai. What about his? The Tanan ha'ish madaras b'noi b'nazir. A man can be madar his son as a nazir, meaning a man can make his son a nazir. Right? Which we're going to see later on. Yeah. So ve'ein ha'isha madaras b'noi b'nazir, and a woman is not madar her son. Cannot make her son into a nazir. It's interesting. This is normally a man has power over his wife, right? But here he has. I'm sorry. If man has power over his daughter, here he also has power over his son. Except the son could just knock it off, right? So gilach, meaning a father made his son into a nazir, and then gilach shegilchu kroivim, and then the son says he's not having any of this, so he took himself a haircut, or he made a macha. So then his nazirus is over. I'm sorry, ashigulchu kroivim, or the relatives did it. Micha ashimchu kroivim, or he made a macha, or his relatives made a macha on him, right, for him. So then he's no longer a nazir, right?
Who's the kroivim? Presumably his mother. Meaning this would be one case where the wife has power over the husband.
Yeah, if you're assuming it's a wife, but I don't know. It doesn't say, right? Yeah, but anyway, so they could be. So now the problem is that what happens if so if he has stam money separated for the korbanos, but we don't know which money goes to which carbon, so it goes for nadava. Mois mufurashin. But if he had money specific, meaning he had money separated for the chatas, for the olah and the shelamim, the mei chatas yachol yamamelach. So as we know, the mei chatas goes to the yamamelach. The mei olah yavi olah umaylan ben. The mei olah you bring as an olah, and your mile. The mei shelamim yavi your shelamim. And it gets eaten for 1 day, and it doesn't require bread. So that is the case of his, right? Again, the case of hers is when the husband nullifies her nether. The case of his is when he makes his son into a nazir, and his son says he's not having it, or the relatives say he's not having it. So now again, you have korbanos that have hektish to it, but they're not going to be brought. Shalachar misa minala. What about achar misa? This is basically talking about where a guy was a nazir. separated his korbanos, then he died. So what do you do with the korbanos? So the same thing. The Tanya Mafresh Moslin Nazirusa. Somebody separates money for his Nazirus. He's not allowed to benefit from it. But he's not moiling them. Because theoretically, he could bring us the korban shelamim for all of them. Right? And shelamim, there's no miylah until after the blood is thrown on the mizbeach. Mace, but if he dies and he had stam money, then they all go, the money goes for nadava. Mois mufurashin, but if he had mois, he had money separated for each one. So the chatas yalach yamamelach. The chatas you can't do anything with, because you can't bring a chatas as a nadava like we've been saying. So you bring it to yamamelach, loy nalin v'loy moilin, and you can't benefit from it, but you're not over on miylah because it's not going to be a korban. The miylah, you view olah miylah ben, and the worth of the olah, you bring it and you are miylah. The shelamim, you view shelamim, and the worth of the shelamim you bring as a shelamim. Gets eaten for one day, and it doesn't you don't bring bread with it. So you see, that's the third case, that achar misa, when the nazir died, so then that's what you do with his korbanos. Shala achar kapara. What about after kapara, which basically means, la'achar kapara basically means, where he was miyachad the animals, and then he lost the animals. He lost them, right? So he got new animals to bring, and then he brought them, and then they found these animals, right? Because he didn't say the tefillah for Rameir Balanes, so he didn't find the animals, right? So now what does he do? He has two sets of animals. So svarahu shalachar misa my tam deloy chazi lekapara. How come lachar misa? Why do you have to bring it without bread? Because it's not chazi for kapara. So meaning you're bringing this korban, you're not bringing it as a kapara. So shalachar kapara nami, achar kapara also. Halei chazi lekapara. It's not roy for kapara because you already brought the other animals. You brought the other animals for kapara. Right? So therefore, those are the four cases. Those are four cases where you bring the korban olah or the shelamim, and you don't have to bring the bread with it. So Gemara says v'suleka, you don't have. There's no other cases where you would bring a korban without the loaves of bread. V'aika, there is one more case. V'shar kol shamin nazir sheshachtan shaloikim mitzvasan. Let's say other shlamim of the nazir that they shechted, but the kohen botched it, right? And he didn't have in mind the right thing. Well, to truth, this doesn't have to be a kohen. Whoever shechted the animal shechted it not for shlamim, right? Or it could be that it has to be at least 2 years old, the animal, and he brought it as a 1-year-old. So ksherim. So the animals are kosher, but it doesn't work for the Baal. The Baal's gonna have to bring another animal. But and then what do you do now? So this is like a quasi thing. So so you bring it, you can only eat it for a day, and it doesn't need bread, and it doesn't need the zroya either. So the zroya is the leg, the front right leg of the nazir doesn't get the rest because it really goes to the kohen, right? So you don't need any of that because it's this quasi korban. Again, we're talking about where the guy separated his korbanos for the nazir, for his nazirus, and then the korban was shechted improperly. So we're saying that korban works. You don't have to bring the bread because there's no point, right? And it doesn't have the zroya. So you see, there's another case where an animal was brought and it doesn't get the bread. So the Gemara answers, when he was asking for the four cases, he was asking about korbanos that are done properly that don't need bread. But if it's not like the mitzvah, then it's not. That we're not counting. Meaning this last case is talking about where the korban was not brought properly. So it wasn't brought properly. That we're not asking. We're talking about korbanos that are going to be brought lichatchila, and they're going to be done properly. Okay, that's it. We'll stop over here.
Why don't you just say I have 5 cases? Why did he say I have 4 cases? He could have said I have 5 cases.
He could have said he had cases and do right? He could have said he had 5 cases and do this. Yeah, he could have said that, but he didn't want. I guess he wanted of the what's lechatchila. No. Anyways, all right. What time
Did we
tomorrow?
discuss yeah, so lighting is
That I beat enough
5:14.
What? I beat
Lighting is
enough
5:14 tomorrow. You did. I was pulling it up.
5:14
Lighting
is
is 5:14.
5:14, so 4:30.
And Motzei Shabbos is 6:45.
Motzei Shabbos 6:45. 6:45 is over. Oh yeah, 6:45. Okay, so 7:15. 7:15. 6:45 and 7.
Aaron Kaplan's not on?
He's by his brother's Vart. He was
Okay,
in
so
it.
4:30 and 7:15. Okay, I'll send it out.
Yeah.
Am I checking anything for you in the morning?
Nope, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
All right. Have yourselves a fine, buddy.
Thank
you, guys.
Thank you.
I was half expecting you to go into Echad B'Shishim here.
Echad B'Shishim?
Mizraya B'Shela.
Yeah. The cooking. Yeah, that's not.
It's Taisus and Amud Aleph.
Yeah. I didn't want to. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I'm driving now, so I'm going to be responsible. And I'm going to hang up.
Dashikaya Chayitanach.
All right. Good night. Just.
Was over. Would you like a cookie? Fine parrots.